So I guess the first question, really, Hilary, is what are the current guidelines when it comes to drinking while pregnant?
Current guidelines depends when you're listening to the Department of Health or the World Health Organization, but generally the consensus is 1 to 2 units once or twice a week.
Right.
That's not very much. 1 unit is a tiny glass of wine or a pub measure of spirits or less than half a pint of beer. And we're talking 1 or 2 of those once a week.
OK, so that's, I mean...
so it's not very much.
The child that we're talking about, the child in question that's in the papers today, suffers from fetal alcohol syndrome. What is that exactly, and how much would you have to... If mothers are thinking, well, I drink a little bit, could my child get this? You'd
have to be drinking very heavily all the time for a child to have fetal alcohol syndrome. It's a condition where the baby is born with congenital abnormalities, so an abnormal face, the bone structure is changed, there's a characteristic look, and there's mental retardation and sometimes physical abnormalities as well. And they're incorrectable, so they're permanent. It's a serious condition. The real question is, to what level can you drink without any minimal disruption of a baby's development? So women who are drinking moderately or even less than moderately, could there be any problem with learning behavioural difficulties in that child in the future? Could the IQ have been higher if you didn't drink at all? That's the burning question.
You know, years ago, I mean, my daughter's 30 now, but I had a problem with iron, and my doctor suggested I had a glass of Macassan every single day.
Yeah,
now, is that wrong?
That's old school.
Yes.
I mean, yes, I mean, there's plenty of iron in stout.
A steak is better.
And, absolutely, no
more
alcohol
iron in a
it.
steak.
Right, in a stout.
So we used to give that advice,
if you're vegetarian.
But the trouble is, if you're drinking other alcohol as well, wine as well, alcohol goes through the placenta. If you drink, the baby drinks.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I think the guidelines are confusing because, like in America, they say no alcohol at all.
Yes.
And I will often see pregnant women, and I did it myself. Oh, I'm having a Guinness. I'm having a Guinness. I'm having a Guinness, thinking that's fine. But actually, it's just alcohol, and the iron is a tiny amount.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, we all process alcohol in a different way, don't we? I mean, some people could have a glass of wine and drive fine. I wouldn't be able to drive after a glass of wine because I'm immediately woozy with 1 glass of wine.
That's true.
So
I mean, we know that 50% of pregnancies in this country are unplanned. And a lot of women will look back and say, oh, my goodness, when I got pregnant, I know I was drinking heavily. I was out binge drinking. And they worry. Now, probably they get away with it most of the time. But we don't know what is a safe level for that individual mother to be. So in an ideal world, for a few weeks, don't drink at all. It's got to be the best advice.
would you prefer it if the guidelines were just don't drink when you're pregnant?
I think so. In an ideal world, yes. But I know that's unrealistic.
And policing it is
shame
virtually impossible, isn't it? I mean, but what's the best way of making people out there aware? Is it an advert? Is it... I mean, what would make people sit up and go, oh, really?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Maybe if they saw the way a fetal alcohol syndrome child looks and behaves, because we don't see that given much publicity.
It's not something I've really heard about.